I did this because I thought that this could be part of a cultural diplomacy relationship, not just between the Philippines and Skopje, but this part of Europe and ASEAN. After this, after I leave you on the 22nd, I'm going to Kuala Lumpur for the ASEAN Summit, which is being chaired by Malaysia, which the Philippines will chair next year as chairman of ASEAN. And I've been working on putting more, aside from the political and economic discussions, there should be because the ASEAN has three pillars: economic, political security, economic, and socio-cultural. And I think that the socio-cultural part of ASEAN has been very effective in bringing 10 countries together. You cannot meet a more diverse group of countries as ASEAN. If you think that the Philippines, of course, is the only Christian country, Indonesia, the biggest Muslim country, Malaysia is Muslim as well, Thailand is Buddhist, and Myanmar, we don't know where they are, but they have to define themselves who they are. And of course, Laos, Vietnam, and Cambodia are all mainly Buddhist. So it's such a diverse group of 10 countries, unlike the EU, where you share a lot of common traditions and common cultural background, at least in terms of religion. And I think that putting together 10 countries in ASEAN has been a big success in our part of the world to maintain peace and security in that part of the world. But for my own experience, I opened our first embassy in Romania 52 years ago, imagine. And then I opened Hungary the same time. East Berlin at the time, which was GDR, the time of Honecker, Ceausescu, and also later on with Prague. So my diplomatic experience, Ambassador, welcome. So I'm so happy. Looking at, I try to impress with my Japanese. Anyway, I was just talking about why I'm here, and I'm sure you've heard about the forum that we have with the Skopje 2025. And our big boss is here, Mark, who herded me in his fold when I was ambassador to Berlin, which my last post before I retired. But after Berlin, I think I'm busier than ever before because I get involved in mainly ASEAN to promote ASEAN around the world, and especially in terms of ASEAN's relationship with the EU, because that's my sort of area of interest, and I've spent 25 years of my diplomatic career in Europe, in Western Europe, Central Europe, and Eastern Europe. But I missed out on Skopje, so I have to make up for it by coming back and having a kind of establishing a more concrete relationship between the Philippines and Skopje. Because in our history of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, which is named after our president during the Cold War, and who was very, very effective in ensuring that the people's needs were addressed, so that we don't fall into that domino theory of the spread of communism in Asia in the 50s. As a matter of fact, our first awardee was the Dalai Lama. show you some interesting pictures with the Dalai Lama, whom we visited last year. We spent a week with him. Can you imagine a week with the Dalai Lama? I feel like writing a book, a week with the Dalai Lama. But he's such a impressive figure who doesn't take himself seriously, which was wonderful. You know, he was telling us stories of his life and how he was able to cope with the challenges that faced him. And he was our first awardee, 1959. And Ramon Magsaysay Award was established in 1958, founded by the Rockefeller Brothers Foundation, who were helping the Philippines at that time to put a kind of not a resistance, but to make sure that the communist regime that was spreading in Southeast Asia does not thrive in the Philippines. Although there were threats, but the award was meant to recognize only one qualification, if you want to call it. We only look for one thing in a person, which is the greatness of spirit. Ich weiß nicht, was das ist auf Deutsch. Schwierig. It's the greatness of spirit of a human being to be able to serve other people around him or his country or his community. And every year we have nominees of about 400, and we choose only 5. And that has been our tradition since 1958. Last year, we had a wonderful awardee from Japan, Miyazaki-san, Ghibli, the author of Totoro. He is a great artist, but a great humanist, because the theme of his caricatures were very deep in terms of human experience. And he doesn't like to be called a cartoonist. He's not a cartoonist. Miyazaki, what's his first name? Hayao, yes. He was very excited when we said, we are giving you the Magsaysay Award. And he said, why me? And we studied his works. If you have a chance to, YouTube has his Totoro, and his cartoons, doesn't like to call it cartoons, his animation is about human feelings toward each other, very wide selection of subjects. And at first he was very shy to receive it, but in the end he wanted to come, but he was sick, so he sent somebody else. But in all of Asia, I don't know, in Europe, he has won the Berlin Award, the Cannes Award for foreign films, etc., etc., but using caricature. And the main actor there is a figure called Totoro. So I think every Japanese knows Totoro and the stories of Totoro. Anyway, he was our Magsaysay awardee last year. And we were very happy that he accepted, because he's very withdrawn as a person. Now, I just want to read to you what the Philippines awarded Mother Teresa. At the time when we awarded her, it was 1962, we talked about her as being born in Yugoslavia. I don't know if that goes with the historical story of Albanian parents, because Sister Teresa, at the age of 18, took her vows at the Institute of the Virgin Mary in Ireland. The following year, in 1929, she was sent to the Loreto community in Calcutta, where for 20 years she fulfilled her obligations as a teacher. Called by the misery of bruising poverty in the surrounding slums in India, her petition to help in a more direct way was granted in 1948. With the permission of Pope Pius XII, she founded a new Indian congregation, the Missionaries of Charity, devoted entirely to the poor. Assuming Indian citizenship, she chose for the fledgling community a habit, as you will see, suited to its mission, and a local costume or dress, and very simple with white cotton laced with blue. Actually, when I ordered the flowers, I said it was for a woman, and then they said it has to be pink. I said, oh, made a mistake, should have been blue because of Mother Teresa. But the idea for must have been my mistake when I said it's a woman. It has to be pink, but never mind. We wanted it blue. Mother Teresa and a small group of Indian nuns she had trained started their work with clinics and feeding centers. Soon, police and others began to bring to her doorstep children and adults who were left to die in the streets. Determined that this unwanted must have a place to spend their last days in peace, she founded in 1952. So 10 years later, we gave her the award. In an ancient, teeming quarter of Calcutta, it's called the Pure Heart Community and the Hospital for Dying, Destitute Children. For the abandoned, lame, blind, and tubercular children, the Missionaries of Charity run a second home, Sishu Bijan. 6 dispensaries are now operated, but all of this description is what we read in her award. So think of this as 1962. 6 dispensaries are now operated with the assistance of volunteer doctors, and 52 relief centers, food, milk, and clothing collected by the missionaries and given to the needy. In the poorest districts of the city, under trees or a mat roof, the missionaries conduct regular day schools, teaching children to read and write in Hindi and to do simple slums. After her award in the Philippines, she also started to work with our nuns who were doing very similar work, but not in the magnitude that she had in Calcutta. It was just overwhelming. Leprosy being prevalent in those days and facilities for treatment were overburdened, a mobile clinic manned by the nuns trained in the leprosy department of the Hospital for Tropical Diseases administered specially to the lepers. On a more modest scale, this work is repeated in New Delhi and other cities in India. The missionaries also maintain a home in Delhi for orphans and retarded children. I think this is exactly what made us decide her so-called greatness of spirit, how she was able to address what was urgent without hesitation, and that's where she attracted a lot of people to support her, mainly from not just the Catholic Church, but all other religious groups. Mother Teresa's community now numbers 169. That was 1962. Mostly are Indians, except 10 from Pakistan, Nepal, Malta, Albania, Yugoslavia, Germany, England, and the United States. I think today there's even more nuns who are helping in the Mother Teresa Hospital in Calcutta. Living as austerely in their slum neighbors, the Missionaries of Charity depend upon donations on a special Flag Day. The public is invited to assist the work among the lepers. Moving chiefly among Hindus and Muslims, they make no attempt at conversion. This is what is unique about her. She was not converting them to Christianity. She was just helping them as human beings. Moving among Hindus and Muslims, she treats everyone of all castes, creeds, and colors, concerned solely with injecting dignity into the lives of the unfortunate. In electing Mother Teresa to receive the 1962 Ramon Magsaysay Award for Peace and International Understanding, the Board of Trustees recognizes her merciful cognizance of the abject poor of a foreign land in whose service she has now led a new congregation. You see, the Ramon Magsaysay Award is designed to award Asians. And when someone said, "Oh, but Mother Teresa is from Skopje," well, like Pope Leo, he adopted Peruvian citizenship. Mother Teresa adopted Indian citizenship, so she qualified. Anyway, this is her reply. And we have a recording, and I tried to get it over, but I had 2 days to prepare for this thing, as you can see. Mother Teresa said in Manila, "I'm very happy to be here today to join you in thanking God to have given to the world, torn with suffering, a man like Ramon Magsaysay, President of the Philippines, who had unfortunately had died before, who loved and served his people so well. This award, which is given to me and through me to the young congregation, to the countless benefactors, and to our poor in India, will be a new source of encouragement for us to love and serve the poor as Ramon Magsaysay did, with all our whole heart and soul. Our congregation is totally dedicated to the service of the poor, to serve Christ in his distressing disguise. Therefore, our home for the dying, the home for the crippled and unwanted children, our care for lepers, our slum schools, our clinics, all come from that source and aim at the same idea, to give wholehearted and free service to the poor for the love of God." Listening to the Pope's message, he talks about love and unity. So I thought of it this morning, and I said, this is a good way to celebrate the new Pope. The Philippines is 90% Christian, 80% of whom are Catholics, and 10% of the 80% are Muslims. But I think if I look at the history of the Philippines, making a parallel with Eastern Europe, when I met Mr. Havel of Czech Republic, when I asked him why was he going to the Philippines, and he said, "I want to pay homage to a people who decided their own fate." And of course, he acknowledged the role of the church in making possible the people power change in the Philippines from a martial law to a democratic, back to a democracy. And I remember my husband, who was chief editor of German television at the time, did a film called Die sanfte Revolution. And this was the story of the gentle revolution in the Philippines in 1986, when the people led by the church, actually, it was the church that came out and defended. It was an amazing picture. If anybody remembers that the tanks were coming in and the nuns would face the tanks. The difference in China, the tanks ran over. But in the Philippines, the tanks stopped. And I remember one of the nuns, I said, "Sister, what did you feel facing the tanks before you?" And she said, "I was numb. I fainted." So people thought she died but she just fainted. And when she came to, they asked her, "Sister Mary John, how did you feel?" And she said, "Am I in heaven?" She thought that by protecting the people facing the tanks, she was in heaven. But anyway, she's still a nun today. She studied in Münster in Germany, and I think the revolution in the Philippines was made possible successfully with the help of the church, because the people are mostly church going, and this is what makes the Philippines a little bit different from the rest of Southeast Asia. And unfortunately, we still face problems like in Myanmar, where we have a problem with the military regime. But I'm not here to talk about the problems. I'm talking here about Mother Teresa. And may I introduce the curator who who has done a great job. I did not expect this wonderful presentation of the life of Mother Teresa. And the Philippine Magsaysay Foundation brought this with me in my suitcase, which was left behind in Istanbul. I was so scared that I wouldn't have it today, but I made it. And so this is a painting of Mother Teresa, which appears in our books about our awardees. And the very special rosary made of shell and made of mother of shell, the cross, and the album, which we hastily prepared in a few hours before my departure for Skopje. So thank you so much for coming, and I hope this remains a very, this is a very unusual award of Ramon Magsaysay, because people say, but your award is supposed to be for Asians. Well, it is designed for Asians, but Mother Teresa was beyond borders. And in 1962, for her to have done what she did was something that we acknowledge very much. And the same thing that we did with the Dalai Lama in 1959, way before they got recognized by the Nobel Prize. So I'm very proud of this award that we have. I'm chairing the board for international whatever, and of the Magsaysay Foundation. And we're thinking about perhaps bringing this exhibit to the Philippines or doing something here in the future to fortify that link between our people who have done so much for humanity, and based on what we know as the greatness of spirit, which is a very difficult thing to define. What is the greatness of spirit of a person? It takes, and it's a very, very tough decision. And we have different awards, but the most recent from Japan was Miyazaki Hayao. And people were surprised. They said, why are you awarding this guy? We said, you have to listen to the messages that are imbibed in his work. And that's what made us give him the award. It was a unanimous, well, in the board it has to be unanimous. If one objects, you don't get it. But we try to keep the integrity of the award. So thank you so much, and I hope, I'm sure some of you have been here many times. Have you been here before? Yes. I'm sure. Yeah, and I would like to stress that this is a wonderful link between Asia and Europe, and this part of Europe. And it's unusual that we have this relationship, this bridge between Europe and Asia. So we're honored that you could join us. I had only 2 days or how many hours to put this together, but I felt I should do it because it comes along with your theme on our Skopje 2025 on cultural diplomacy. And I think we talk a lot about it, but I think we should do more concrete activities to make sure. This morning, before you came, I had a whole group of women from Singapore. I came with them in the plane yesterday. And of course, they all were worried about my luggage that got waylaid. But they did not know that Mother Teresa has an award from Asia. So this was it was like an awakening that, hey, this is a link that we never heard about. And I think it's in diplomatic terms, you call it's a platform for linking Europe and Asia and our part of the world. So thank you for coming. I think we have some water or something.